All right, well, welcome to your yoga for desk workers. This is something that can also be really nice to do at the end of your workday to release the major areas that get either compressed from sitting all day or that kind of more desk posture. So we're really going to focus on opening up through the body. So the first several are just going to be supine with the block underneath the hip. So let's get set up for that. So when you're ready, come onto your back with your knees bent. Have your block, a rolled up blanket, or that rolled up bath towel handy, whatever you have that can just elevate your pelvis. And I'm going to invite you to have your block oriented on its mid setting. Now, if that's too much spinal extension, feel free to knock it down a notch and just do this on the lowest setting. But we're going to start releasing the psoas, or the hip flexor region. So think about when you're sitting all day, the compression that takes place. We're going to invite that to open. So one time only, you'll have to find an active bridge. So press through the feet, pick your hips up, slide that block right underneath your pelvis. Make sure it's not under your low back, but it's literally supporting your sacrum, your pelvis, your hips, all of this really heavy region in the middle of the body. When you feel ready, bring your right knee into your chest and then lengthen your left leg nice and long. Let your left heel rest on the floor so you can really open the psoas. So here's where the block, if it feels like your foot can't find the floor, for your body, the block might just be a little too high. So feel free to knock the block down a notch so you can let the left foot relax. The deeper you can hug the right knee into the chest, and the more you can lengthen your left leg with the foot resting on the floor, the deeper that psoas stretch will become. So find a level of stretch that feels like something you can soften into, something you can really take nice, deep breaths with. If it feels comfortable in your space, maybe you even close the eyes and just really bring your awareness to the breath. Nice, kind of exaggerated inhales and exhales. And as you linger, feel your low back kind of just melting or cascading down towards the floor to find that nice release. And let's take 2 more deep breaths on this side. Maybe even an audible sigh. Let it go. And then however you like, we're just going to switch legs. I like to bring my extended leg in first so I can grab hold of that, and then I just feel a little bit more stable on the block. But however you'd like to switch them out, just let your right leg find the floor, hug your left knee into your chest. And again, we'll be here for about 10 nice, deep, slow breaths. Feel your pelvis softening, your low back releasing. This nice release from the compression that takes place sometimes for hours a day. Notice too if there's maybe unintentional tension creeping up in the neck or the shoulders as we're holding onto the leg, and see if you can't let that just dissipate with every exhale. And let's take 2 more breaths here together. And then slowly release your left foot to meet your right. And we're going to come into a supported butterfly. So as much as possible, bring the bottom of the feet together. It's okay if if the heels aren't close to the body, or maybe the feet aren't even necessarily touching. But what I want you to find here is let the knees open up towards their sides and just find this nice release, not only for the iliopsoas, this hip flexor region, but also into the groin, the pelvic floor, and down through the inner thighs. And we're going to hold each posture for about 10 long breaths. So allow the body just to sink in, to settle in. And take 2 more breaths here. And slowly let your knees creep back up towards one another. We're gonna just imitate legs up a wall to decompress through the low back. So I like to hold on to my block as you bring the knees into your chest. Now you may need to find an adjustment here, but what you want to find is that the blocks are supporting the pelvis. So let your knees come to over the hips, and then when you feel safe to do so, start to extend the legs up towards the sky. The hamstrings are really tight. Feel free to keep a soft bend through the knees. You can keep the knees even more bent if that feels more comfortable. But you really want to focus on just unloading and decompressing the lumbar region of the spine. And take 2 more deep breaths here. And then slowly just start to release one leg at a time, foot to floor. And take just 2 or 3 breaths here in supported bridge. And then when you feel ready, press through the feet to lift your hips just enough to remove the block. Let yourself unwind one vertebra at a time, starting from the shoulders down towards the tailbone. And then just take a little windshield wipering of the knees side to side, just to kind of counter all of that extension and release. And then roll onto one side to press yourself up, just so we can set up for our next posture. Now place your block at its lowest setting towards the back of the mat. And we're going to use that for supported fish. So you're just going to lay your shoulder blades onto the block. Let your head cascade back behind you, and let your arms be anywhere that feels comfortable. That could be down by your hips. It could be out towards the sides like a T. It could even be like a cactus shape or an overhead reach if you've got even more spinal extension through the thoracic or the mid and upper back. But again, we'll be here for about 10 breaths, so let the body just kind of sink in here. All right, when you're ready, walk your arms next to the body and kind of brace your core just enough that you can lift up and off. Reach back, remove the block from underneath of the body, and then come all the way flat onto the floor. Bring your knees into your chest. Let both knees fall off to the right. I like to take my right hand on the outside of my left knee and then extend your left arm long. So we're just going to finish here with a spinal twist on each side. Again, just to focus on that decompression through the vertebrae of the spine. Also, it's really important to allow the spine to move in its multidimensional ways. So twisting, rotating, which if we're in a seated posture for the majority of the day, that spine can become quite rigid. The fascia and supporting muscles are meeting you and where you're at for your physical demands. So they'll support that structure, that support. But it's nice to allow the tissues to be really malleable, allow them to find their many ways of movement. And there's no question that as a human race, we move less than we used to. So encouraging that in different ways each day can be really helpful to navigating through pain and increasing in our mobility. When you're ready, let's take that over to the other side. Again, maybe it might be nice to have your free hand just kind of supporting that top knee down. And your gaze can go anywhere. If you want to look towards your long arm or up towards the sky, just listen to your cervical spine, the neck, and see what feels good for you. And take 2 more deep breaths here. Now, whatever arm is behind you and reaching long, just bring that over so you can roll onto the side of your body. And then use that arm that was just extended in front of your chest to press yourself up. And hopefully you feel a little bit more open, a little bit more lengthened throughout the body and ready to tackle another day. Thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, be well.